Hey, Eric, did you know that listeners of this podcast can support us on Patreon?
They can?
They actually can do that by going to patreon.com/retroam. Now, would you like to hear some hot sounds that I have recorded?
I would.
Welcome to Retrograde Amnesia, a comprehensive podcast series about Xenogears. Join us as we leap across the chasm between our former awkward teenage selves to meet our washed adult selves in order to assemble some sort of truth about this video game. My name is Chris. I am joined tonight by my friend Eric. Hey, Eric.
Hey, I'm just lost thinking about how I'm a better and worse person now than I was then, and if that evens out to being the same person.
You know, this is not a zero-sum game. We are just here to talk about Xenogears and assemble some sort of truth about this video game, as I said.
Zero-sum gears.
Zero-sum gears? Did I say that?
No, I just did.
Oh, do you want to change the title of this podcast to Zero-Sum Gears?
Yeah, that's not bad.
Actually, it's not that bad. But then they might think it's a Gears of War 5 podcast.
Absolutely not.
You don't want to do a Gears of War 5 podcast?
No, someone said, I saw a promoted tweet that listed Gears of War 5 as video game's greatest saga, and I just wanted to give two middle fingers to my fucking telephone.
Well, what is video game's greatest saga? Is it Xenogears or Xenosaga? It's one or the other.
Well, that's the truth we're hoping to find.
We will find some sort of truth. So, we are on to the chapter Recapture Aveh. What is the Japanese title for this? Do you have it?
The Desperate Counterattack.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's not bad.
That one's better too. Are they short on characters in order to title these chapters in the save menu? Is that why they can't be as cool as they are?
That's a possibility. I think that was still the time then when there's a character limit, and Japanese is more efficient than English as far as getting the point across there.
Yeah, a lot of things are more efficient than English, to be honest with you.
So Sigurd and Bart were looking at the red moon, and then the red moon it reframes to being outside of a bedroom window.
Yes, and we are greeted with a nightmare scene of... first of all, Ramsus is laying in bed with Miang.
Yes, they're both sleeping. They
are sleeping, and it's interesting. A lot of sprite-based characters don't have specific sleeping animations because... And they never cover up either.
Yeah.
They always just kind of lay on the bed.
Just going to put them horizontal.
But Ramsus and Miang are both close to nude. I think later we find out that Ramsus is wearing a Speedo.
He's wearing a Speedo. I'm picturing Miang as being completely nude.
Yeah. The way the scene frames later, she is.
Yeah.
But before Ramsus gets up, he's having more Red Guy dreams.
Yes, Red Guy, flashback, flash forwards, nightmares.
He's the Red Guy who we've seen him 3 times now. We saw him in the anime cutscene after Faye's initial meeting with Grahf. We saw him in a shortened version of this dream when Ramsus first met Faye.
Where he did sick combos on Gears.
And right before Faye did a sick combo on Ramsus to end that battle, for lack of a better term, Ramsus saw the Red Guy in Faye, like the image of Red Guy in front of Faye.
Literally.
And in this dream, the Red Guy is facing off with Ramsus. We hear that heartbeat sound a couple times here. Yeah. And Grahf is actually watching all of this unfold.
Right, it's an extended version of the last one, and it pulls out, and Grahf is up doing his mountain gazing shit.
Is he always gazing from a mountain?
Yeah.
I mean, 90% of the time.
He needs to look as cool as possible at everything he does, right?
I think that's part of his plan, because we don't know this for sure yet, but it appears that Grahf... Well, actually, we do know this for sure. We know that Grahf is a string puller, because he's trying to unlock Faye's latent power so he can destroy the
power.
Mother. Yes, so that he can destroy the Mother God or whatever.
But Grahf's not necessarily alone, right? There's another gear up there.
Yeah, there is. There's a couple of other factions at play here, I think.
There's a massive red glowing gear.
And it appears that Red Guy is summoning that gear to him.
Yeah.
Do you remember that scene in Evangelion when you find out that Kaoru is an angel and he just activates Unit 2 just by walking up to it?
Yeah.
It reminds me of that.
Yeah, that's good.
The red gear starts to pulsate with a red color.
Yeah, and the pulse gets faster.
The pulse gets faster, and I think the heartbeat beats in here, and its eyes flash blue, and then it just owns everybody.
Yeah.
I guess all these are Gebler forces.
Something like that. I mean, we don't know if this is real or imagined. Ramsus said he's out of control, stop him. I don't care how, just stop him.
And he can't do shit.
Right.
Nobody can do shit against Red Guy.
Is it Red Guy or that red gear that just then fucks up Ramsus?
I think it's the gear, yeah.
Yeah, it makes a weird noise, and then there's like a blood-curdling noise as he snaps out of the dream.
Yeah, he wakes up, and we're still getting that heartbeat sound, but it's going super fast at this point.
The Super Nintendo heartbeats are in rapid succession, and then they slowly fade out.
That's the point when Ramsus gets up and walks away in his black Speedo.
Yeah, Miang asks if he's had a nightmare, and he kind of doesn't answer her. He just kind of gets up and shrugs it off because I don't think he's comfortable showing weakness.
Implication being that this happens a lot to him.
This is...
or at least lately.
Right. My dude's got night terrors.
Also, let's also take note of the fact that there has been a nighttime sleeping period.
Oh, yeah.
Because we wondered last episode, how many times have people slept since the Grahf scene? And I think we're somewhere between... maybe 2 and 5 at this point.
Yeah, it's been a weird week.
It has been a weird week for sure.
But when Miang sits up, you can see she's like her back is exposed to us, which means it is implied nudity. And then she says something. She says, "Peeping is not very becoming, you know." And I'm like, is she talking to me, the player?
And I had
game hyper aware of what I'm doing.
I had forgotten about the scene, and I didn't know what was going to happen here. So I thought this was another like moment where they were maybe in the Aveh castle, and like Shikan was peeping. At
kind
them
of
because,
one of those camera things.
Yeah, but...
that's where they are, right? Because they're in some kind of royalty room. When they still be in the... Or do they leave?
That's where they would have to be.
They'd have to
because
be,
the battle is about to take place around this area.
Right.
So it's not Shikan. In fact, we are temporarily removed from the Recapture Aveh plot, and more so we are now witnessing the overarching plot, I think. Because Grahf phases in with a weird noise.
Yeah, he makes the weird phase noise. And he makes this a lot, and this is the first time we've heard it. And when you hear it's like a doom 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 noise. And to me, this is a shits on noise. It is the exact same thing as the glass breaking before Stone Cold comes out.
Yeah.
When like shit's like it's gonna get real soon. Like the shit that you want to happen is gonna happen now because this mysterious dude is gonna do mysterious shit and you're gonna eat it up.
Also, we now know that Grahf has phasing powers.
Yeah,
the ability to phase in and out of scenes. He's ethereal or something. I don't know.
Yeah, but he doesn't talk. He doesn't say a whole lot. Miang says, "I saw the boy you're after. I could tell right away. He resembles you greatly."
So Faye resembles Grahf.
Yes, I think that's the point we're making there. Grahf says, "You use the influence of the ministry to set you up with that man," implying Ramsus. "I don't know what you are up to, but don't you dare think about plotting against me. You stay out of this."
She says at that point that she won't interfere with Graf's prized possession, assuming that his prized possession is Faye, maybe? Because
I think so.
Grahf is sort of the handler of Faye at this point.
I think Grahf is upset because Ramsus is also a player, and fucking with him or fucking him could interrupt Graf's plans and make it not go according to his needs.
And there's also an implication during this conversation that Miang and Grahf go back.
Yeah, she says, "I won't steal your prized possession. Besides, you and I go back a long way."
So let's pull out here from to a larger story view and try to quantify these string pullers of this plot so far.
Oh God, yeah, you want to? All right, let's try and figure it out now.
Miang is so. It appeared before that maybe Ramsus was a main influencer in this.
Miang's pulling his strings. He doesn't know that at all.
Miang is no longer the accessory that she was portrayed to be earlier on. She is a prime mover of the story now.
Yes.
Mainly because she has some sort of history or relationship with Grahf. Grahf is the other string puller. I don't think that their goals are the same. What do you think? Do you think that Grahf and Miang want the same thing?
I think they share more of a goal than Ramsus and Miang share.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, let's say currently Grahf is on, let's call it S tier, and so is Miang. I'm going to put Emperor on S plus tier, as far as people we know right now, or double S. Seiton's A tier, maybe Sigurd's A tier.
Is Seiton his own tier?
As far as we know.
At this point, or is he just executing the will of the Emperor? I guess we don't know that yet. That's a good point.
Yeah, like, does the Emperor interface with Miang and Grahf as well? That's a good question.
And I view the Emperor as if, at this point, because we know nothing about the Emperor at this point, but I view him as a political figure and less of a sort of observer like Grahf and Miang are. So I'm actually putting the Emperor like down at A or B tier.
Oh, really?
Yes, I think Grahf and Miang are pulling most of the strings here, and Emperor plus Citan. Are we to assume at this point the Emperor is the Emperor of Solaris because we know Citan is from Solaris, or is he another Emperor?
I mean, I know the answer to that, but I don't know if we can make that distinction yet.
It's hard to say.
In his dialogue, Grahf also mentioned the Ministry, which is a major force that I think that's the first time that's been referenced in this game.
Yeah, I think you're right. So Grahf is pulling in one direction. Miang is pulling in another. The Emperor is pulling in another. And then we have our heroes that are pulling.
Yeah, Faye's in the center with his arms out, just doing spinning circles in a field.
So is this like someone's trying to get Faye to join their team, or someone's trying to like harvest Faye?
I'm going to go it's all a recruitment for the person who can control Weltall. Fuck, I keep doing that.
It's okay.
Right.
We do have a lot of conversations about how to pronounce things, and then we inevitably fuck it up.
Yeah, we revert back to our 20-year-old.
I think we agreed on the ethos, but I know that I said ethos several times along the way.
Deal with it.
That'll probably happen even more as we get to that, actually.
So that's all for this scene, and then there's a brief scene on the Yggdrasil.
Yeah, Franz is hearing some hot sounds under the sand.
I didn't know he actually did that shit. I just thought he was a sound test guy, but no, he's out there detecting sounds.
Yeah.
Presumably with sonar because he's a fucking dolphin.
So is he is he predicting an attack?
Yeah, he says he can hear anchors being weighed and engines being activated. Which is, I guess, he can either use the Yggdrasil's instruments or he uses dolphin knowledge.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's it.
And then we have to flash to another character, as if we didn't already, we've spent a lot of time with Bart and Faye and the team, and we've seen this whole scene with all the supposed bad guys, and now we get to see our good friend Elly.
Yeah, it flashes to Elly and it plays the slow version of Night of Burning Fire.
Yes, I have that too. And at this point, we find out that Elly is in charge of the Ginyu Force.
The Loser Squad?
Yeah, the Loser Squad. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Rink is pissed. Breuer is like, oh, she's elite. She's from Jugend.
Jugend. Yeah, these are the losers we beat up at the hangar at the pirate base.
And they suck. I mean, we're going to fight them.
Real bad.
Yeah, we're going to fight them later, and they suck in that battle too. But this whole scene is just that whole squad just being upset that Elly is even in charge of them.
Yeah, their whole shtick is they can't conceptualize a world where a woman is in charge of them without as much battle experience as they have.
Yeah, and she's also very young, I think, compared to them.
Yes.
At least that's the implication.
They acknowledge she came out of the commander's school pretty well, but they talk down to her. They imply that she's weak. They're ready to show off on their gears. I think one of them, like, the guy with the blue hair and with the glasses may apologize at a certain, like, oh, sorry about all this. But even that sounds like a pejorative.
Yeah.
Like, they have zero respect for it. And they're kind of like, well, watch this. We're going to go kick ass.
They walk over to the Vierge.
Yes, we see Elly's gear for the first time.
Elly's new gear. Vierge is French for virgin or maiden.
Vierge.
Cool. It's a very feminine looking gear.
I hate this gear, by the way, in terms of the way it's designed. It's the pink lion of this one, and
it's the girl gear. It has a skirt.
I'm not even necessarily opposed to them putting the girl in the pink gear, but the fact that it has a mecha ponytail makes me very upset.
When it hits people, hearts come out.
Yeah.
So
I'm okay, and that would be fine if this was Margie's gear.
Yeah, but it kind of reinforces the stereotypes. Like they respect that gear. That they respect that only Elly can control it, but. It's not helping her case if she has the Dazzly gear.
Yeah.
The fighting game I've only ever been good at is called Virtualon. Mm-hmm. And the fastest gear, fastest virtualoid in the game is a pink gear that hits people and hearts come out.
Yeah.
And it's wearing a skirt. Looks just like this. You know what his name is?
No.
Faye.
Oh, okay. Well.
Fei Yen. I just thought, that means nothing. It's just a funny coincidence.
Yeah. Have you noticed yourself calling any sort of mechs gears?
Yeah, doing that a lot.
Yeah, because I was trying to look up the name of a Gundam the other day, because one of these things, actually the Vierge some of the capabilities of the Vierge later on remind me of a Gundam, and I was trying to find the name of the Gundam, and I was just typing in Char's gear, and I should have typed in Char's mobile suit. Yeah, I was not getting. I was
dumbass.
I was actually getting Gears of War 5 results, because apparently there's a town.
Excuse me, Gears 5.
Gears 5. Xenogears 5.
They have emitted of war.
We are playing Xenogears 5, actually. Now we cut to Faye's team.
Yeah, Faye has to climb a mountain with his lackeys, General Maitreya, Falcon, and Vind.
Yes, we are basically platforming up the mountain with all of our red dudes, because all these gears these are the same gears that accompanied Bart
generics
during the attack.
Yeah,
during the attack on Bart's lair. These are the same little dudes that we had helping us out there.
Their function is to show you there's like a multiple paths to hop up this mountain, multiple plateaus, and they kind of show you the path to take, but they don't direct you to the treasures that are in different places in the mountain.
And they go a little bit too fast.
Yeah.
I understand what they were going for here, but it's not effective. It's cool that they're like their own separate entities platforming through this mountain, but it would have been nice if we would have had the opportunity to actually see where they were going before.
Yeah, this is one of the first big instances of what I like to call Xenogears fuck me platforming.
Yeah,
where there are instances that demand you hold the run button and hit jump, but all of this is ruined if you get into a random battle during that acceleration period, which if you do that, you'll just drop. If you hit the battle, you'll just drop and fall down to the bottom, or it'll mess up your jump. But so you want to kind of run around and get in a battle, and then after that's over, take your jump.
Yeah. And we're exposed to the same sort of enemies that we were exposed to in the Stalactite Cave.
With one exception.
There's a Mayfly, and there's the...
Medusoids.
Medusoids, yes.
Yeah, and now you beat the shit out of those things.
Yes.
Like, I think the Medusoids only do 1 damage.
Yeah.
At a certain point. And you can kind of, if you wanted to, there's a fix bot later, you can kind of grind out some experience and money here, because there's not really many times to do that. But I fell in the mountains a whole bunch. And did you fight the new enemy that's here?
Yeah, it's like this weird dinosaur thing, right?
It's an Edelweiss. It's got a yellow animal-looking giraffe head with an eggplant body. I think my note is yellow animal-looking giraffe thing, what the fuck?
Edelweiss, is that a German word?
Edelweiss.
Sounds like it, right? I didn't look it up.
Initializing fake net.
Through the use of technology, Chris has just looked up Edelweiss. Chris, what is it?
The Edelweiss flower, its meaning and symbolism, it's synonymous with the alpine terrain, and those of the Alps find it a flower of purity that instills a great sense of patriotism with its meaning. The nations bound to this flower's symbol include regions in Austria, Germany, and Switzerland.
Thanks, Chris. And this thing did look like a plant in the middle of a mountain, so I think that checks out.
Yeah, it's pretty weird.
You have a feeling that the localization team just had a bunch of like German facts and just knew that the director liked German things and just kind of...
Every now and then I wonder, we could study that probably.
Yeah. Especially with the titles for Xenosaga. I'm sure that links up somewhere.
Yeah, that's true. Der will do mocked. Okay, so after you platformed up the mountain with your red dudes,
get to the fix bot.
Yeah, you can buy some stuff from him, and I think you can upgrade yourself a little bit.
He sells the same stuff they sold at Nissan. But what does he say when you leave? I hope to see you again.
Oh yeah,
which is some real weird stuff. It's like, how long are you just by yourself up here? How long have you been up here? I mean, I might see you again. I'm not coming back here.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm not really quite sure who put this fix bot here.
But is that foreshadowing? Because you do go back there.
Yeah, after this battle. True. It's weird.
So before you get to the fix bot and the save point, and then what does that mean next?
Well, the alarms start to go off, right?
Yeah.
Because a Gebler unit is approaching and Night of Fire is playing.
Improper.
Yes. And Faye's, his bros, his dudes, his squad are upset or worried about what's going on. And Faye's basically like, let me handle this. I'm going to solo these fuckers. Right. These people are not going to handle me. And the at this point, when the Gebler Special Forces notice that Faye's gear is marching upon them, they ignore Elly's orders. Because actually, Elly is hesitant to issue an order to attack because she knows that it's Faye, because she recognizes the gear. But they're like, fuck you, we're not listening to you. They come in for a fight.
Yeah. They all tell Elly to kind of like sit back and watch me kick this guy's ass.
The first group is a group of 3 wand knights.
Yeah.
I'm not sure which 3 characters these are, but they are busters. Like, they are not strong at all.
It is 2 wand knights, sir.
2?
But they have a move called Power Beam that can fuck you up.
Yes, I actually had a beam coat equipped.
Oh, nice. So it would reduce damage by 50%, right?
Yes, it was random that I did that.
But as soon as these guys tell Elly that they're gonna take care of this, isn't that like a clear notion that they're all gonna get their dicks kicked in like immediately?
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Okay, so after you take off 2 Wand Knights, then you face the Claw Knight, the Sword Knight, and the Aegis Knight. Vance is one of those. That's all I've got for that. But before they do it, what do they do? Before they get in that battle, what do they get high on?
Oh, they get high on that drive.
They do some drive, man.
They do some mellow yellow.
Freaking out.
They do the surge.
Actually, yeah, they do the surge mud pit couch race. Like I mentioned, like the ones that conquered the couch get the surge.
Yeah. Vance at some point quips that, why am I losing to a lamb?
Yeah.
And he's not upset, or no, excuse me, he is very upset that he's losing
can't
to
deal
Faye.
with it.
Yeah,
But this is another boss succession. You do 2, 3, and then after you just wipe these dudes. Because I think I may have, once I got my attack level up, I think they'd fall in like one combo, maybe? Like these guys don't last very long.
No, they're not very strong at all. Especially I think if you upgraded your gears at the Yggdrasil beforehand, or if you did it at the fixed spot.
I was tip top at that point.
Yeah, me too. So at this point, Elly is forced into battle, and she is going through this sort of internal conflict on whether or not she needs to use the drive.
She goes back to the blood hallway.
Yes, there's scenes of her running down the hall, and all you hear are like footsteps running down. The hallway, and this is still her sprite being animated down the hallway, and this is another moment when we have the camera sort of panning in different directions.
It's at a Stephen King angle.
Yeah, that's true. And someone...
Or Kubrick angle, I'm sorry.
Someone is trying to convince her to use the drive.
Yes.
And there's a bunch of scenes, and somebody indicates, I guess these are like scientists or something, in Solaris, they indicate that at one point she lapsed into delirium, and her innate ability was already too significant for the drive. So basically, I think we're supposed to infer that she's had experiments run on her.
Yeah, and she runs on drive all the time. That's her secret. She's mad all the time. But as far as who's initiating those tests, it reframes her conflict in that hallway because she's clearly guilty over the drug use and doesn't want to use it. And someone makes reference to, well, her father was top brass.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, so I don't know if her father being the top brass, whoever that is, has these planned, or whether they saw her as a candidate because he was so high up. It's at this point the Tears of the Stars, Hearts of the People plays. Is a sad synth piano song.
And this is about the point where we get a quick, I think it's a still shot from the anime scene.
Yeah, it's that
when
hallway.
When the blood was all over the walls.
Yeah.
And I had completely forgotten about this. I didn't know that we were ever going to get context for those.
Yeah, I don't know what she did.
I guess the implication is that she fucked up the guards that were chasing after her.
That's, yeah.
And
but I don't remember if that's ever like explained again.
Those guards were chasing after her to try to get her to use the drive. And I guess she slipped into a...
That or they gave it to her and she went fucking crazy.
Yeah. Either way, she entered some sort of trance state and just owned everybody.
And after that, we get a battle. Is it implied that she does the drive before?
Yeah, because her portrait switches to like mean, scary, like fucked up Elly.
Just did a rail, Elly.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. And she initiates battle by deploying her Arids. They are the Arids, the Animus Ether Response Offensive Drones, which all deploy out of, I guess, the sort of the Gear's shoulder pads or whatever.
Yeah.
They're little drones that can do additional damage. And this is not the first time that I think these have ever been used in any sort of mecha fiction. I think we've seen...
These are popular.
I think they were used in Gundam and Char's Counterattack, which is a movie that came out, I think, in 1988-ish. So I think this is not a concept.
Good pull, Chris.
Yeah, thank you. I'm always here for your Gundam pulls.
Yeah. Her lackeys explain this to us as she uses them.
Yeah, that's true.
Faye knows she's using drive because her face is messed up. And then the lackeys also explain that only elements are allowed to use Arids or have the ability to use Arids.
Yeah, and elements, let's call back to elements. Were Citan and Sigurd were elements?
Yes, and Miang and Ramsus.
Okay.
Definitely Ramsus, possibly Miang. I think that's the implication.
If you were an element, does that mean that you graduated from the Jugen school?
Yeah, it's like the Navy SEALs to the Navy people.
Gotcha.
The best, sir.
Faye asks, why must we fight?
Yeah, there's a lot of dialogue back and forth here.
And Elly says, it's divine providence.
Yeah. That's really good. That is some snooty ass shit right there.
I kind of like that line of dialogue. I know it's probably a little bit heavy-handed, but I like it.
Faye just keeps begging her. Like, they'll fight for a little bit, then he'll butt in with begging her to snap out of it. And she says, "This is my true nature. There is no other." When she gets deep down in it, she says, "Ha ha ha! Writhe, dance, die, and rot in obscurity here," which is like a wrestling promo for a Shakespearean hack character, kind of.
Yeah, probably. It's a bit much, but I like it. Anything particular stand out to you about this battle? I found it to be pretty simple. Just kind of build up your attack level and do as much damage as possible. Yeah,
I mean, the challenge is you should have been managing your health and fuel before this, not hit booster, not run out of stuff. It's more of a test of endurance as opposed to actual strategy. The main conclusion I got from this is that drive is a drug that makes your space racism come out.
Yeah, that's true.
Eventually, Faye takes a knee and then does a running tackle and kind of turns it into a chokehold, and then Elly makes a freak out, or the Gear makes a freak out noise.
It almost looks like the Weltall is grabbing the Vierge by the collar.
Yeah.
Even though I don't think that it has a collar, but it looks like it.
Sure.
And it's kind of shaking it, like snap the fuck out of it, like kind of like you would do to somebody
to a person and not their machine that they're in.
Yeah. And she actually begins to snap out of it briefly.
She's like, I told you, she references her own foreshadowing about them being enemies the next time.
Yeah, and the Vierge starts irradiating a bunch of like crazy lightning bolts or something.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. It looks like it's going to explode like the Weltall did in Lahan. But it doesn't. It just kind of shuts off, right?
Yeah.
And then we have a brief post-battle sequence where Faye and Elly are talking to each other, and ultimately they conclude that they're kind of the same person.
That's what Faye says. She said she used drive to protect her allies, and he kind of the implication is, oh, well, he uses violence to protect his allies. But they kind of say that, oh, well, that's the same thing. And then Faye goes, oh, I'm here for you, which is one of the more pathetic kind of lines in that sequence. It's like, dude, this is not when you say that. And I think she doesn't really resolve to stop, does she? She just kind of is like, yeah, no, I'm going to keep doing this.
Elly doesn't change teams at this point. Or anything like that.
Faye's plan to convert her has failed again.
But, you know, if we read this scene, knowing what we know about Elly looking like the Sophia character and where we've come to this point, we know that that's inevitable. Plus, we've already had Elly in our party too, so we know she's going to join us.
She's going to be back.
Yeah.
Faye then leaves to go be with his friends.
I guess his portraitless friends.
I mean, he's got a mission to go. Like, he's in the middle of an operation.
Yeah. This next scene makes me laugh.
Yeah. It's a real short scene.
It flashes to old Mason at the bar, and he breaks a cup.
On the Yggdrasil.
Yeah, at his bar on the Yggdrasil, and he breaks a cup. And he wonders if it's like an omen or something.
Yeah. Which is, I think, the second time there's been some really obvious shit like that in this game. After that, we get to Bledavik.
We do. Bart and his team are sort of at that section of the waterways where the old man lives.
Kind of prepping, where the crazy old guy in the sewer is hanging out still, who says the exact same dialogue if you talk to him.
I really hate this whole part.
Yeah.
Because there's no player agency.
Yeah, there's some comedy. It's kind of funny.
Well, there's some comedy, but there's no agency here. Like, I think we should have been at least given a section where we have to go through and fight a couple battles with Bart, and Seitan's with him too right now, right? Yeah.
They have a whole troop.
Having a couple battles here would have fleshed this out a little bit, at least to make this feel like a video game.
Yeah.
But instead, you go up to...
You climb that ladder.
Yeah, and then you come out at the courtyard, and then the whole scene is set. It's like, well, we got to sneak in here, and we got to find Shikhan, take him out, and then take the throne. And then you find out that it's an ambush.
Yeah. It was I who let the rebels go through. I wonder who sold them out, Chris.
Oh, I wonder who could have done it.
Shikhan and Miang are there to meet Bart and company. Like, they knew what was coming.
Yes, they knew the border attack was coming. And
they knew all of it was coming.
Yes, and Ramsus is in the process of marching on Nissan right now.
Yeah. Miang says Ramsus knew what they were doing with the Kislev feint. Miang, in that conversation, she straight up calls Shotgun a stupid puppet with him standing right there. Quote, "We don't care who is sitting on the throne. Any obedient sheep would be fine."
Yeah, the only reason that Miang wants to stop Bart is because she knows that Bart is not going to be a puppet.
Yeah. She can't control him.
So you might as well keep this dude, this other dude that's going to listen to what they say.
So the implication is they're going to open fire on him, right? Because Miang says, "Goodbye, boys."
Yeah, I guess the scene kind of pulls out a little bit, and you see all of the Aveh soldiers, which are, I guess, supposed to be aiming their fire upon them. And
yeah, and they have higher ground. It's like in The Rock when they're in the bathrooms and all the Navy SEALs are on.
Yeah.
You're down there, we're up here. You walked into the wrong goddamn room, Commander.
Yeah, and Ed Harris's company just kills Michael Biehn and all of his friends.
But
who saves the day?
Old Mason.
In what?
In the land crab.
Yeah, the spider gets back and it's got a copter.
Is it the same one?
It's gotta be. Where else do they get those things? How many of those are there?
I don't know.
He shows up in Seitan's sand crab thing, which apparently isn't lost or getting eaten by the rancor dragon or whatever. Tells Shotgun to freeze, and then they all just get in the thing and they're getting ready to fly away.
I think Bart tells Shikhan to make sure he gets his head waxed.
Yeah, don't you get your head waxed, dude?
Jerk.
Yeah.
And Mason's about to fly out, but then he's like, never mind, this fucking thing is broken.
Yeah, the copter just spins out and flies away like a children's twirling toy, which is pretty funny. I forgot about that.
It is funny. I just wish there was some video game in this part,
There's some hilarious, like, you push the button to launch it and it just fires the thing. That would have been nice.
It runs in circles.
Yeah.
But then, ultimately, it's able to platform or wall jump out of the sky.
It does some sick geometry wall jumps and then pops out of the sky, and then they get away anyway. There's some tension.
Yeah, and then we all go back and regroup at the Yggdrasil.
But then after that, is there any dialogue back at the Yggdrasil? Or does it flash over to the Keffinzil?
Nothing specific. It's just more along the lines of we need to figure out this shit. I think Bart really wants to go after Ramsus because Ramsus is marching on Nissan and he's worried about Nissan.
Yeah.
But at that point, the scene flashes back to Faye. At that point, we are transitioning to the next chapter, Desert Despair. Are you prepared for some Desert Despair?
No, because when we recorded this, I didn't know it was a different chapter.
Oh, congratulations. Faye has reached the top of the mountain.
Yes, top of Mountain 1. At
this point, he has found Vanderkaum's border fleet with his bro Maitreya, who is not important enough to have a portrait.
Right.
We have previously established this.
What do we get to play now on our assault on Keffinzil?
Well, Keffinzil is the name of I guess that's the current Aveh flagship, which Vanderkaum is in charge of.
Right.
And Faye says, simple, we do this.
Right.
And I like that. Like I said, I'm starting to really like Faye.
Yeah, but that's like something like you look for a guy to say some words of inspiration and he just goes, simple, we do this. It's very dry leadership versus, he's like, listen, you guys don't have faces. I'm not going to know your names tomorrow. Let's just go do this.
I'm behind him. I like this version of Faye. Maitreya wonders if Faye is more gung-ho than the young master at this point in time because Faye's just like, fuck it, let's go. Let's rock this shit. And I don't know if Faye is kind of resigned to the fact that he doesn't care or if he's just...
he's undefeated so far, right?
Yeah, he is true. That's true.
Vanderkaum's plan to use big guns seems bad. I don't know what I wrote that down in reference to.
Yeah, we see Vanderkaum on his ship and he wants to bait Faye into entering the Keffinzil's main gun firing arc, which is the same as saying he wants to use his big-ass cannons. And even the other guy on the bridge, who's the portraitless guy, who's the
bridge captain.
Yeah, the bridge captain. He calls him stupid outright.
Yeah. Like, there's essentially a fight between Vanderkaum and his bridge captain about who's the bigger moron.
Vanderkaum is very pro-Second Amendment.
Yeah.
And he's got a lot of guns in his truck, and he wants you to know about it.
Yeah.
And he wears Oakleys.
If I'm encountering a guy out on the street with a big purple face tattoo, I'm going to assume he's into guns.
Yeah, totally. And then all of a sudden we are in like a shoot 'em up game with random battles.
It is
It's
a
weird.
vertical shoot 'em up, and it sucks.
It does suck.
It sucks.
I like the fact they tried.
They tried, but it sucks.
So what you have to do is navigate the Weltall through a bunch of laser beams.
There's like horizontally shifting things. There's 2 enemy gears that do 360s around you the entire time, and you can get like this game. Chris learned it when he was in the Aveh capital. If there's like 5 sprite guys on top of you, you don't just fight one battle, you fight every single one of them.
Yeah.
So if you're hitting 2 of these obstacles at the same time, guess what? You're doing 2 battles back to back.
I like the name of these gears. They're called the Sand Trippers.
Yeah, it's
which
a good
seems
name.
pretty good.
Sand Trippers is really good.
And there's also like a bunch of mines and guns that will do damage to you outside of battle.
Yeah, outside of battle, it adds up eventually.
Once you get past all that stuff, one of Faye's cohorts, Falcon, smokes one of the ships.
Yeah.
With, I guess, some sort of long-range beam or something.
Good job, Falcon.
Thank you, Falcon. Captain Falcon. Falcon Punch.
Falcon Punch.
Falcon Punch!
And then what's the battle?
Vanderkaum says to Faye or to the whole crew that, like, he says, you're not good enough to be my dog, which I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
I guess he doesn't like dogs.
Yeah.
And then you break through a couple more lines to get to the flagship. And at this point, as we're transitioning to the battle, I'm wondering, how did Vanderkaum get to this point in his career?
Right.
Because at one point he was the commander of the Gebler Special Forces, but even this lowly, portraitless Aveh ship captain calls him stupid to his face. He doesn't do anything about it. And
maybe he's been using too much drive and he's fried.
But even Citan, who has not been affiliated with, who hasn't been explicitly affiliated with Solaris in a very long time, knows of Vanderkaum's weaknesses.
Yeah.
Like like the book has been already written on Vanderkaum and how much he sucks
They
at his
just don't
job.
have anybody else, and all they need to do is somebody who can fire the big gun. And this guy likes guns a whole bunch. Let him fire the big gun. No one's really watching that ship anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
Gebler's kind of running unopposed out there, right?
That's true. That's very true. And at that point, you are transitioning to the battle versus the main gun.
Yeah, you fight a big gun.
Which I guess Faye is doing mecha kung fu on a stationary gun.
Absolutely.
I guess instead of 3 stationary guns.
Yeah.
And it's not very difficult.
No. It does the classic thing where for each one of its turns, it counts down, I think, from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 each turn. And I killed this thing before it got to 0.
Oh, I actually took some damage here.
Nice.
Which was probably a bad idea.
Yeah.
But I did have the beam coat on. I don't know if it helped or not, but I did survive the attack.
Put your beam coats on, kids.
Do it. At that point, Vanderkaum says he still has that. And he says it like 100 times. He's like, I have that.
Yeah, he still has something up his sleeve.
Yes. And as the ship is starting to smoke, and I don't know if it's going to explode or not, but the ship is fucked up because Faye's done a lot of damage to it.
Yeah, all of his karate is weakened the ship.
Vanderkaum emerges from the smoking ship with a huge fucking tank that has like...
It's got pincers.
Pincer arms, and it kind of looks like a dinosaur a little bit, and it makes a dinosaur noise when it goes into battle. It's like... It's weird. It reminds me of sort of an Evangelion scream a little bit.
Yeah, kind of. Like
it's not as harrowing.
Yeah, that stuff haunts my dreams.
Yeah, but it's there.
Its name is Dora.
Yeah, is that something? Do we need to look that up, or is that just a...
I don't know that you can look up Dora for any kind of significance. Yeah. There is a point much later on, with regard to Dora, where Citan is surprised that Vanderkaum still has it.
Yeah, he knows the name of Dora.
Yeah,
which,
that's pretty neat. So what does Dora do?
He likes to beat ass by picking up Faye's friends and beating him with his own friends.
He picks up, with his 2 claws, he picks up the other gears, and if you attack him, he smacks you with the other gears.
When you were playing this part, did the other gears do 0 damage for a while?
Yeah. You have to, no matter what attacks you do, I think it's your first 7 or 10 attacks do 0 damage.
You have to break off the head cover.
Yeah.
And then you can start to deal damage at that point. But he does a couple of attacks of like beam type bullets that kind of hit everybody and do a lot of damage.
Yeah, he was doing like 400 damage to some of that stuff.
He defeated my Weltall. Like,
oh, really?
I was like, fuck, I'm gonna have to do all this shit over again. But one of my red dudes came through for me and got a couple hits at the end and won the battle.
That's good. Yeah, they killed my other guys. I won with 5 health.
Oh, wow. So
5.
you were about in the same boat as
I. Yeah, I was debating to do like a level 2 or level 1 combo, and I was like, let's just hit him. I've only got 1 more attack left. Let's do level 1.
So I don't even have a level 2 combo yet at this point.
Square X?
Yeah, I haven't learned it yet.
Man, well, yeah, there's not a whole lot of opportunities to grind in this game unless you want to go beat Gonzalez in that forest.
And that's still my main complaint about this game is that we just haven't had enough gameplay outside of our gears for a really long time.
They're putting us in the gears, which is both good and bad, but it's not what you want to learn on.
Yeah, they're not doing a good enough job here of letting the game serve the plot. Like the plot is just being served, and that's it. It's time for something. It's been a while since something has come from left field.
Yeah.
And we get a left field entry from a quote popping on the screen that says, "Do you want the power?"
Yes.
And of course,
Grahf's theme plays.
We've seen this dude before. Grahf, Emperor of Darkness, plays. And this is kind of a pretty awesome intro, the way he kind of comes into this.
This is where he says his signature line.
Doth thou desire the power? Which I always remember this as doth thou seek the power.
So do I.
Does he say them both? Or?
I don't know, or if it's some Bernstein Bear universe shit happening, some Mandela effect.
Oh, yeah, the Mandela effect is a weird thing.
Yeah,
it could be, because he does call himself the seeker of power.
Yeah, he identifies himself as the seeker of power.
Yeah, so maybe that's it. He also says, "My fist is the divine breath," which is an awesome thing. And at this point, he's offering...
He says, "My fist is the divine breath, blossom of fallen seed, and draw upon thy hidden powers. Grant unto thee the power of the glorious mother of destruction."
Wow, mother of destruction. So is the mother of destruction different than the mother god?
Right, that's a good question. But he offers this in front of Vanderkaum, who he knows is going to take that bait.
Yeah, Vanderkaum, there is no question
Dude's
about
fucking gears smoking, battleship just got wasted, God knows how much that fucking thing cost. He's like, oh, they're going to be so mad at me.
And we know that Graf's only sort of...
It's to test Faye, man.
Yeah, his thing is to test Faye and to draw out Faye's power. And a lot of cool things are happening here. The poses that Graf's gear makes during this
top shelf
thing, where he kind of puts his fist out and he's like emanating like is it red?
Yeah, it's kind of glowing a little bit.
Yeah, a glowing red power.
Presumed to be the power.
Onto Vanderkaum's Dora is pretty cool. This is a couple of other great examples of the camera kind of panning in different ways to really frame the scene up in a way that looks a little clunky because this is a PlayStation 1 game, but it's still really cool.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Like, I thought a lot of this stuff wasn't going to play well in 2019, but I think it still does. Because now our brains are used to the low poly count here, and we're kind of getting to the point to where we can accept the way this game is aged and still appreciate the way scenes are framed.
It's being sold well, but then, like, after he makes that offer, we assume Vanderkaum accepts, but then it cuts back to the Yggdrasil.
We are back to Bart, and is this the part where Bart's gear, the Brigadier, it looks like it's going to hold the wheel of the Yggdrasil on the ship, on top of the ship?
It's kind of weird.
It is weird. Like, is that... I thought that was just decorative.
Yeah.
But apparently maybe a gear can use the ship's wheel. Yeah, it's weird.
We learned that the forces at Nissan were routed and that Ramsus is torpedoing them.
Bart wants to go back and Sigurd's like, it's useless, dude.
Yeah, don't, man. That's gone. But then it flashes over to Ramsus, right?
Well, Franz first hears some hot sounds of torpedoes being readied behind them.
Yeah, more torpedoes.
Sand. And then, then we do flash to Ramsus on his ship. And his people confirm that the Yggdrasil has been hit by their torpedoes.
Right.
I also have written down here, and maybe I didn't expound on this enough, but I have written down he promised an old friend something.
Yeah, Ramsus, like, they have the torpedoes locked to just finish the job, and Ramsus says, I promise an old friend I must take it easy, and just stop short of annihilating them, and demand surrender instead of murder.
Yeah, oh yeah, okay, so we kind of, I guess we're forced to wonder who his old friend is, but then we immediately get a flashback of Ramsus and Sigurd. I guess we're
from 12 years ago.
Oh, it's 12 years ago. Okay, I didn't realize it was exactly 12 years ago, because Sigurd is still wearing his like Gebler outfit.
Yeah.
And Ramsus is asking Sigurd why he doesn't want to stay and be a Nazi with him, I guess.
It's fun. We got the cool uniforms.
Yeah. Because that's the equivalent of Solaris, right?
Yeah.
Gebler is the Gestapo.
Of the Solaris? Yeah.
I mean, that's what it is, right?
Round them up, capturing people.
It's not great. And Sigurd says his goal the whole time was to steal technology.
Yeah, he's like, what, you fucking dumbass? I'm not about this life. Which, you know, it contrasts to what Sidon said earlier in the flashback. They're like, no, we believed in him. He was idealistic. And now Sigurd's like, fucking idiot. No, I'm leaving with this cool tech shit.
He says someone is waiting for him, which I guess we were to assume is Bart.
Ramsus looks dumb as hell in this scene.
Yeah, he does. And I remember a couple of episodes ago, you asked me if
I picture Sidon is waiting for him, by the way, not Bart. Because Bart's got to be like 9 at this point.
That's true, but perhaps he's saying that in the grander scheme of like...
Oh, yeah, for life.
Yeah, like... Yeah. We would have to know on whether or not the Fatima dynasty has fallen or not at this point in the conversation. Because if the Fatima dynasty has fallen, then maybe Bart is waiting for Sigurd to come back, bring the technology, and be able to defeat them. But I remember a couple of episodes ago, you asked me on whether or not I was trusting Sigurd, or I was feeling about Sigurd the same way I was feeling about Sidon.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, the answer was yes, because they were both keeping shit from their students, so to speak, or they're from Faye and Bart. Now I kind of like Sigurd.
Yeah.
Because
he's all right.
He seems like he was there for a reason, and that reason was to be able to get enough technology and to get enough knowledge to be able to help Bart take back the throne and take what's rightfully his, maybe.
So he's authority good as opposed to Sidon's chaotic neutral.
I guess so. I'm not sure if I'm ready to put Sidon at chaotic neutral or not, but maybe we should explore that a little bit later. At this point, Ramsus wants Bart's crew to surrender.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where that scene ends.
Yggdrasil's damaged. But then we go back to Vanderkaum with power.
Yeah, we go back to sort of the Faith scene, and Maitreya is like, who was that?
Yeah.
And then they start to get the message that Bart is in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
That's assuming that Bart is in trouble because of the Ramsus' attack upon him. But now Vanderkaum has got lasers and everything.
Blue mist is emitting off the Dora gear.
He's just smoking people.
Yeah.
Like Vanderkaum Grahf asked Vanderkaum if he wanted the power, and he has got
he's
the power
got it.
now.
Phase boys get wasted.
So this leads you to believe that you're en route to a boss battle, but you're not getting the boss battle.
Maybe mostly because your HP's gone.
Yeah, that's true.
But Faye makes a lot of heartbeat noises, and then it starts overlaying transparencies of Faye on top of himself as he kind of loses it.
Yeah, and this is another cool camera framing device here, because we're seeing Faye from the perspective of in his own cockpit.
Yeah.
So you kind of see Faye sitting in the cockpit, and the camera panning around in different angles, and it starts to get sort of neurotic. And I'm not sure if it synchronizes with Faye's heartbeats that are going on, but it's at least...
It's very spastic.
Yeah, it's getting across the fact that Faye is about to go on one again.
Yeah. But then instead, the screen tints red and it cuts back to the Yggdrasil.
Yeah, it's flashing a lot of different colors actually for a while, but when it finally kind of hones in, it's red. It ends on red. And it all that is framed really cool.
Yeah.
I really like that. And then... If you thought that flashing back between the tournament and swimming in the waterways was a lot, then you're in for something here. Because now we're flashing back to Bart again.
He's in his gear repairing the Yggdrasil, doing some repairs, man.
Yeah, the ship's fucked up. It's in bad shape.
At some point in the dialogue, he calls somebody Mr. Puniverse. What the hell is that? What does that mean?
Okay, so I thought about this a lot. In fact, I've been thinking about this all day.
Mr. Puniverse has been on your mind all
Bart
day?
asked Sigurd what Gebler's Mr. Puniverse has got to say. And I think they're waiting for a response from Ramsus.
Oh, from the surrender thing. They probably said surrender, and they probably did 2 middle fingers.
But I don't know why. I mean, I guess, like...
Yeah, what?
I think this is a commentary on Ramsus's, like, good looks and strong power, like a Mr. Universe.
Oh, puny.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Bart.
Even though Bart has not seen Ramsus in his Speedo, he knows that Ramsus is physically fit.
Yeah, he's kind of ripped.
And he's got beautiful hair, and he's got a sword and a cape and everything. And he just is a great looking dude. Bart's like me. Like, you never trust somebody who's really handsome until you really get to know them.
Yeah.
Because
you just assume they're up to some shit.
Yeah, you assume they're up to shit and that they've been handed things that they didn't deserve because they are so handsome. So Bart's like that. He doesn't trust Ramsus. Well, I mean, Ramsus is also very explicitly his enemy, but...
In addition to that.
In addition to him being handsome.
But then it cuts back to Ramsus' ship, and you hear future ship control noises. It's a different series of sound effects that we hear as opposed to the Yggdrasil.
Yeah, before it cuts to that, though, there's a great line of dialogue here. When Bart talks about Mr. Puniverse, the slow Yggdrasil theme starts to build up, and Bart is sort of rallying the troops and being like, all right, let's do this damn thing. And it's sort of, he's getting heroic, basically. And Old Mason says that he will follow Bart to the pits of hell.
Fuck. That's so good.
And I challenge you to find a line of Michael Caine saying, I will follow you to the pits of hell.
That's got to be out there.
I'm sure that Michael Caine has said that
100%
in one of his roles. And if you don't find it, then I hope that maybe somebody one day will find it for us.
Yep.
Because I'm just sure that Michael Caine said that in the movie once.
I decided I had nothing to lose. If I was going to die, then I was going to take a lot of Chinese with me. I was not alone. The three of us were gripped with a new sense of purpose. We would not run back to our own lines, Bobby Mills said. We would charge the enemy, all guns blazing, and take them by surprise. This time we all agreed. I need a piss, said the wireless operator. We all agreed on that too, and we knelt there in the undergrowth and all peed together.
Because that's perfect.
You cannot frighten me or do anything to me. And if you try, I'll take as much or as many of you with me as I can. And
Bart's like, let's go get these fools, basically. Yep. And then that's the point where Ramsus is ready to attack again. And we get this. I don't know what Ramsus' ship is, but I do get the read that it's more futuristic and stronger.
Yeah, it's like a starship.
Yeah, it's cool. In fact, it's hard to remember to frame that as it's in the sand and not floating in space, actually. So he's ready to attack, but...
New gear shows up.
Oh, yeah. Hey, it's that red gear we saw in Ramsus' dream.
Yeah, his dreams are coming true.
Yes. If you continue to listen to this podcast, your dreams will also come true.
That's right.
It's red. It's awesome. It's got these cool green energy wings.
Yeah.
That are emanating from the back.
It looks organic, almost.
Yeah, it does look organic, but it also looks sort of ethereal and like heavenly almost.
Angel-like. It's using mental power to destroy its opposition.
It's like an angel. Or it's like a demon.
Whoa! Yeah, actually, Ramsus calls it the Demon of Elru.
The Demon of Elru. What's that? What's Elru?
Did we look that up?
Can we look that up?
Initializing fake net.
If you Google Demon of Elru, do you know what you'll find, Eric?
What do you find, Chris?
You will find some links to some DeviantArt sites that have pictures of this gear.
Okay.
So I don't think it's an explicit reference to anything.
Great. Well, if I want to masturbate later.
Yeah. So, sure. The song is playing. The one who is torn apart is playing during this whole scene.
Screen flashes red.
Which, with the things that are happening here, you would expect a more up-tempo song to be playing. Mm-hmm. But the fact that it's playing the song...
It's ominous.
It's awesome. I love this whole scene.
It's so good. It shows restraint.
In fact, I don't know if you said this on our episode 0 or if you just said this to me as we were talking, but like, we talked specifically about this scene... with the Demon of Elru, as we
let's call it that.
Yeah, as the Demon of Elru is wreaking havoc if it would play well in 2019 because of the limitations of this platform and I think
it does.
It does. It's awesome. I love it. It's still awesome. And as it descends, Miang is amused.
Yeah, like Ramsus needs to go get in his gear and like leaves with Miang, but Miang actually laughs.
She seems like she knows what's up. I don't know what her goals are at this point in time, but Miang is quickly becoming my favorite non-player character at this point in time.
Yeah, me too.
Because Grahf is very villainous. We're trained not to like him. Miang is also a villain, but she's an opposing force of Grahf, who has... He's the self-ordained Emperor of Darkness.
She may be an opposing force of Grahf.
Yes, and she is, I think. At least to a certain extent she is. So the red gear descends to Bart.
It speaks to Bart first.
Yeah.
What does it say?
He says, "Are you strong?"
Which to me reads as a mirror of, do you seek the power?
It does. And also, I sort of also read this as a sort of like he's the purest form of Vegeta.
Yeah.
The purest Saiyan, and all he wants to do is fight.
Yeah, kind of.
Or maybe he's Broly. I don't know. He really wants to battle, I think. And Bart, he really doesn't know what to say here.
Well, no, he just saw Oasis Solaris gear. He's like, all right, man, you're on my team. You know what to do.
I need to know what's going on here.
Yeah.
Jerk.
Yeah. Let's team up, dude. Does it attack Bart after that?
Not yet. Before that happens, Ramsus arrives, and his gear,
beautiful golden gear.
It's Goldar from Power Rangers.
Actually, yeah, it is Goldar.
He's piloting
Fuck
Goldar.
Me.
Yeah.
His actual name is Wyvern, and he's carrying a big fencing sword.
Yeah, it's a golden gear, and it very explicitly has wings protruding from it, sort of, that make it look very regal and...
Yeah. Rich, very expensive. Miang has a gear too, and what's unique about her gear?
Actually...
Or do we just see his right now?
No, we see both of him. We see both of their gears. First, let's talk about Ramsus, what Ramsus does.
Okay.
Ramsus initiates battle against the red gear, and it actually cuts to the battle engine.
Yeah.
I don't know if the screen breaks like it normally does, but he goes into battle engine.
It's those graphics.
Because I can tell, especially when I'm playing on the PS3, a backwards compatible PS3, I can tell because the frame rate always amps up a little bit.
Yeah, it goes faster.
Yeah.
There's less to do.
It's like so you're expecting a battle, but not really, because the red gear just completely owns Ramsus and rips.
Owns is an understatement.
Yeah.
Fuse plays before this battle as opposed to the regular battle music.
Oh yeah, that's true. And he just goes in and it just rips the arm off of him.
Yeah, he uppercuts his arm off. He does a Mortal Kombat 2 uppercut and his arm falls off. And then he picks it up by his head and rocket slams it into the ground.
He palms his face and makes the gear eat dirt. Or eat sand, I should say. And then he just totally discards it and just roundhouse kicks it off into the...
He drop kicks it with a roundhouse.
This is the best.
Ramsus says if it weren't for you at a certain point.
Yeah, so apparently the red gear has held Ramsus back at some point and has cost him something dearly.
Yeah, before the battle start, Ramsus said, I owe him, and him was in quotations, greatly, as if he was looking forward to this conflict. I mean, he had been literally dreaming about it.
This is the first time we get a good look at Miang's gear as she descends to save him. And I think that Miang might be sporting the coolest mecha design so far.
Yeah,
because
it's very stylized.
Because this is the first gear that we've seen, I think, in this game that has uneven... It doesn't have an even design. Like
it's not symmetrical.
Yes, one half of it has it looks like it's a holding tank for the Arids that Elly had earlier.
Yeah, maybe.
It looks like it could shoot out little drones that could be able to do a little bit of damage. And the other side looks more like an attached shield or cannon of some sort.
And it has one wing.
Yes, it does have one wing. And we've recently seen a couple of one-winged angels when we were talking about our Gnostic.
Ramsus' gear has one arm.
Yeah, now it does. So I really like Miang's gear. I don't know what it's called yet. So I guess once we figure that out, we will dissect that too.
So after the demon of Elru wins, it's just floating all badass and shit and has blue exhaust emitting from its wings, just kind of hanging out, just exuding its aura. Yeah. It's really good.
It's awesome. And then it's like, okay, now it's time to fight Bart. Yeah. And I thought maybe this would be a good moment to this would be a battle to where you would go and have to do X amount of damage to the boss and then it would proceed to beat you up because obviously this gear is more powerful than anybody we've seen to this point. But that's not the case. Bart gets a couple of combos in. Yeah. But then the demon of Elru does 20k damage.
Yeah, it does 499 in combos.
This is actually a cool way to, instead of we've now seen this gear beat ass from two different angles. We've seen it in the in-engine cutscenes when it owned Ramsus, and now we've seen the actual power level of the gear by seeing it do 20,000 damage. It's like having a scouter in Dragon Ball versus not having a scouter, like two different scenes. It's over 9,000.
It's over 9,000! What, 9,000?
Whenever you fight an enemy, we're actually in a proper battle. Whenever you fight an enemy in this game, it usually says the name of whatever you're fighting. In this, it just has a question mark.
Yes.
Which is pretty good.
Missed opportunity to call it Demon of Elru, by the way.
The move it does to Bard is called Kishin.
Kishin.
Kishin, whatever that means.
That's a very Japanese sounding technique.
Initializing fake net.
Google says Kishin means donation.
And a couple of other characters in this game have Japanese sounding techniques.
Yeah, it's a mixture. But then Sigurd's got a plan up his sleeve. What's he do?
He's about to get heroic.
Yes.
By maxing the Yggdrasil's power to rescue Bart.
He jumps it.
He does a jump move, which I don't know how I guess he overexerts the power to like ramp off the sand.
I'm guessing he lessens power on the front and puts it all in the back to like make it do a aerodynamic jump.
Yes, it's kind of awesome.
He lands on the Demon of Elru.
And effectively saves Bart.
Yeah.
But
the coolest goddamn scene in the game.
Thus far, yes. Maybe all the way.
Yeah, I'm going to say all the way.
Maybe. It's been a while.
This is it, man. It plays The One Who Is Torn Apart.
The One Who Is Torn Apart is an apt song here. But again, this is a moment where they play The One Who Is Torn Apart, which is a very slow, ominous sounding song, when maybe the most top of mind choice here would have been something a little bit more dramatic.
Yeah.
But this is like a cool Omen mystery kind of sounding music.
Yeah, it sets the scene for grandeur.
Yes, it's awesome. And like I said before, we wondered if the scene would still play. It still plays. It's still awesome 20 years later as the Demon of Elru ascends from the sand, holding the Yggdrasil with one arm. Not necessarily holding it where the metal is touching the metal.
It's hovering above his hand.
It's using it like an aura, almost like it's using like a chi force or something to send the Yggdrasil upward. And I don't think that it tosses it, but it
starts capsizing around him. It's breaking off on the
that's
side.
Right. So there's an additional force being applied to it.
And then he says, "That was pretty interesting, but dropping a warship on me is cheating. Take it back." And he slow motion throws it across the screen. It's like positioned horizontally, and the game intentionally throws down as he throws it.
Shit's going down.
Yeah.
It's going down hard. And Old Mason and Sigurd are like, this is kind of an odd scene, but Old Mason and Sigurd they want Satan to escape because like, you shouldn't be here anyway.
Yeah, Sigurd calls Satan Huga and like fucks up his name again.
Yeah.
During this scene.
Yeah, there's no time for pleasantries here.
Yeah.
And for some reason, we get an escape pod FMV or CG cutscene where Satan is launched from the Yggdrasil and he's floating. He notes that he's floating towards the border.
Yeah, it's like a matte painting, kind of like when they looked over the town of Dazzle.
Yeah, and then when it crashes in the sand, he sees the wreckage of the Vanderkaum battle and
Dora.
Yeah, that's when he notes that. I didn't know Vanderkaum still had the Dora. It was just like, oh god damn it, Satan! Of course.
Didn't know he still had that.
Of course you know the name of the gear. Of course you do.
Dang. So there's this.
But also, why did Satan have it? Like, when Satan was launched, I didn't think that he had his gear with him.
Yeah.
The Heimdall. But when
he would have had to. Where else would he have? Where would that thing go?
I thought they just put him in the capsule, but I guess I was misreading the scale of the scene.
Yeah, I guess. But this whole sequence has effectively reset everything we know of the game. Like the status quo has been eradicated at a certain point. Like all the forces we thought had powered have been eliminated, kind of, or all the ones that we know, at least, right?
Yeah, I guess if we go back to our conversation that we had about who are the string pullers of this game, there's an additional agent of chaos.
A new player has entered the field.
Yes, and known at this point as the Demon of Elru or Red Guy.
Ramsus isn't badass. Sigurd isn't badass. Bart's not badass. We don't know where the fuck Faye is.
And the only one that seems to be amused by this is possibly Miang.
Yeah, Miang. Satan probably is like, oh, of course I'll make my escape. Yeah, but Miang is literally amused. Satan is figurative. Like, I mean, he's more like, curious. Very good.
I think this is part of Satan's scenario.
Absolutely.
I do, because, well, I guess we can't explicitly say now because we don't know everything yet, but we'll get to that later because things are happening for a reason, and I think Satan is part of that reason.
Is this where we see that Dora is all fucked up for the first time? Like something happened here? Because we just see, do we see Dora get fucked up before, or we just saw Faye freaking out?
We saw Faye freaking out, then it switched. So at this point, all we know is that Dora, after receiving the power, has been defeated. So take it for what it's worth. And that's it. I did appreciate how this game let us save after the long cutscene.
It is a no save point save. It just lets you save in the middle, and then it says, do you want to keep playing or do you want to stop?
And, we'll we'll get there next time, but there's a bunch more shit after the save point.
Oh boy,
that we have to get to.
Mm-hmm.
But that is not a conversation for today, because it is 10:40 on a Tuesday night.
Yep,
and we're old. So, thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Chris. I enjoyed this conversation.
I did enjoy this conversation. I hope that we shine some light. No, we didn't shine any light on anything. We just got more confused along the way.
Yeah, but we're sorting through it. You know, I guess talking about it and then listening to this podcast 4 or 5 more times when I edit it kind of makes the game clearer for me, and I hope some of that translates out to you, the listener. It's
not quite time for a big picture conversation again, because I think we had one a couple episodes ago about like who's where and what's going on. But do we know who Mother God is yet?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, because
I mean, Sophie is a mother and mother of a religion, maybe.
Grahf, in his initial introduction, wanted to said that he needed Fae to destroy God, specifically to destroy the Mother God. And now we've been introduced to Sophia. Is Sophia the Mother God? Or is something else the Mother God? Or is that just a weird thing that he said at one point? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Because he did refer to the Mother of Destruction when he was granting Vanderkaum the power.
Yeah.
So I'm not quite sure. I think I'm just getting myself more confused. Hopefully, this is the confusion that yields enlightenment at some point along the way.
It's a search for truth.
Yeah, the search for truth at some point in truth. Where were you at age 15 with this? Like, I remember being like...
I was 16.
I
was 15.
I remember pumping my fist at this
I couldn't
shit.
fucking believe it.
Yeah.
Like, I was so underexposed to media and fiction that this was amongst the greatest... Kind of just... Because I wasn't used to, like, stuff that was inscrutable happening with the stuff that I was viewing and reading and playing at that point. Like, this isn't... Like, you have no idea what any of this means.
Yeah.
Like, usually there was a point to something. I could even sense some foreshadowing, but this was... When I could sense none of it, despite how thick this game was laying it on, this blew my mind.
Yeah, this is the point when you just could not stop.
This is running out into the streets and begging people to play this game so you have somebody to talk about it with.
Yes. This is my dad yelling down in the basement at like 1:30 in the morning when he got up to like take his medication or something. Go to fucking bed. Go to bed. I'm like, no, Dad, I'm 16. I got nothing to do tomorrow. It's Christmas break. Leave me alone. I got to see what happens in this video game.
It's a story game.
Yeah. Yeah. My parents were well attuned to the fact that we're well attuned to the concept of RPGs.
Yeah.
Because I played the shit out of like Final Fantasy 3, I guess, as it was originally released. So they knew what I was into, but like...
This is my third one ever.
Whew. That's a lot. This is your third one ever?
Third
at this
RPG.
Point in time?
Well, I'd fucked around with Dragon Warrior and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the first one that I had finished after being a teenager. How about that?
That's a lot. Thanks for joining us today. If you're enjoying this podcast, or if you just like us, support us on Patreon at patreon.com/retroam. Follow us on Twitter at retroamnesiapod. We occasionally post screenshots of Bart drinking beer. Email us things at retrogradamnesiapodcast@gmail.com. We will read and respond to your comments in the future. And review us on your favorite podcast service, such as Apple Podcast, Google Play, whatever else is out there, Spotify, etc. Thank you to Mark Shepard for the intro track. You are a true man of the sea. And until next time...
Yes, we will kill God.
Now, you can go back to sleep. I can't find my intro. Oh, here it is. And they come in for a bite. No.
It's at this point that they also, that the, it's a...
Man, Jesus. There's so much. You want to say that again?
Yeah.
Okay. This thing is recording our voices.
What the fuck is that? I shouted to my mate Harry.